What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Going to be going through real quick what I'm going to be doing on this baseball slate. We'll talk a little basketball if you guys want to talk about that stuff as well. So basically, I actually have my pitching is very spread out, and my hitting is not. I'm high on Atlanta, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Oakland. I actually think I have the most Oakland of any team. I like the spot in that game. I do like KC, but it's a little with Witt not in the lineup. It's a little bit of a downgrade for me. But I do like those stacks the best. The other ones that I would consider getting some exposure to would be Texas, Arizona, Washington, and the Mets. But I'm just trying to narrow my builds today and trying to keep it, basically clean with what I have right now. And it's mostly going to be the KC, Oakland, Atlanta, St. Louis. Again, Angels, Arizona, Washington, and the Mets are all kind of interesting. I do think that, like, pitching wise, it's really hard for me to have like a massive priority. I like Max Fried. I could make an easy case to fade him. I like Christian Javier. I like Corbin Burns. I probably like Zach Wheeler more than most of the field does. And I also like Kershaw and Castillo. On the cheaper side, I think it's worth taking a shot on Josiah Gray and Merrill Kelly. I think both of those guys are viable. I think it's worth taking a shot on Jordan Montgomery. There's just a lot of pitching today that I don't feel everything really separates. And so I've got 40% of Wheeler right now. I decided to go overweight on one of the highest upside things. It is annoying against Boston, but Boston not the same team on the road that they are at home. I like Castillo, as I mentioned, but I have these guys all very close. I like Kershaw at 20%, 10% Sale, 10% Tyler Anderson, 15% Josiah Gray, 40% Fried. The one guy I'm using that I probably am going to regret is Sean Manaea. I know it feels gross, but we've seen this Milwaukee team really struggle at times. And Manaea, when he's on, still can be very good. It just has been a while since we've seen it. Only the one start this year against KC. He's 5,600 though. So I'm debating whether or not I want to stick with that. What I most likely do is end up turning that into Tyler Anderson, because I just think that that's probably a little bit of a safer play. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward baseball slate for me. I mean, again, I do think that I really like the Oakland pricing. I like the KC more for pieces than the whole stack, just because it's going to be a pretty popular full stack. St. Louis and Atlanta, I think make perfect sense today. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm still in the midst of building my basketball lineups, but I'll talk real quickly through what I'm planning on doing. I'm struggling with what to do. I think Jokic makes the most sense as a spend up. It's going to be hard to fade Campaign if he starts, but I do think that there's a chance Booker could play more like the one, and you might see Damian Lee in there a little bit. You're not going to get way off the board with Damian Lee, but I think that's kind of an interesting way to go. Both Okogie and Torrey Craig, one of those guys probably gets the minutes to be a reasonable value play. I'm siding with Okogie right now. I like Horford. He always has good games against MB because he can stretch him out. He's going to take some threes tonight. You're going to hope he goes better than 1 of 8 like he did last time. And I like Horford to be around 30 fantasy points. Also think Melton is a viable play. And I think that Derek White will be lower owned because of the perception of him right now. And I just think with these Boston guards, you kind of have to play one of them. And I am siding with White, thinking he's going to be a little lower owned. And he also takes up a shooting guard spot, which is a little bit valuable. I have Booker over KD, but both as very viable. And I like DeAndre Ayton as well. That's sort of my basketball rundown. Nobody even saying what's up in the chat. I'm going to have to get out of here. This might be the quickest show I ever did. 5 minutes and I'm done. Literally completely done with my analysis of everything. So anything you guys want to talk about, jump on in here. But I went through all my stuff. I don't have a whole lot else to add to it. So let me know if there's anything that you're trying to figure out here. One thing that is a little concerning about the Oakland KC game is there's a little bit of weather there possibly. A little bit frustrating, but I don't know. I still think I'm okay with it. Sort of the same thing in with the Mets game. So I would, maybe stick more to stacks in those games, but I don't think it's anything to worry about too much. Keep in mind the Arizona roof will be open tonight, so I think that game maybe gets overlooked a little bit, and I think we maybe want to get more exposure to that game. Anyway, guys, I'll be in Discord all night. I know the Friday shows, sometimes people get quiet. Yeah, I mentioned Atlanta first. Atlanta, St. Louis, KC, and Oakland being my favorite spots on the slate. Also, with some reasonable ownership going there to these guys, keep in mind there are some other ways you could stack Atlanta. Like, I actually don't think Eddie Rosario is going to be popular. I'm sorry, excuse me. That's on FanDuel. Let me grab my DraftKings sheet real quick, and we'll be right back and going in a minute. On DraftKings, let me just grab the Braves ownership. It's kind of crazy to me how low owned the Braves are projecting right now. I don't exactly understand why. I actually don't think Kramer is maybe as bad as people think, but it's Atlanta at home against any average pitcher, like, is a good matchup. And there's a lot of spots on the slate, like, to not quite just fall in love with, you know what I mean? Like, everything just feels like, okay. I think that if you wanted to get really creative, you could put together some other stacks, but like, if you're getting Atlanta at that ownership, maybe we don't really need to. I also don't think that the Cardinals are getting anywhere near the ownership that they should, outside of Tommy Edman. And the Oakland ownership is actually maybe getting to a little bit uncomfortable territory because it's pretty high, as is the Royals. So those two ownerships are the two that maybe you want to mix in the Atlanta or St. Louis with those guys because they're going to be pretty popular. This Josiah Gray thing, I think it is real. I think he's going to have really good and really bad outings. He's still going to give up home runs, but I do think getting some exposure to the Arizona, although they're going to have some ownership. And I don't think Washington gets owned at all. I actually am going to take some shots on mini stacks. Luis Garcia, Alex Call, Keeper Ruiz, all those guys look like a pretty good place to me. So I like the idea of getting some of that. Anyway, guys, I'll be in Discord all night. If you have any questions, I'll post my updated builds when I'm done updating them. And hopefully my 6 of 6s go well in golf. I'm very, very not been my best golf day. Like, I had way too much Spieth and way too much Morikawa, and they just completely blew up. I didn't have that much Rory, which is good. Although he's right on the cut line right now. Yeah, he made it. So, but I had a good amount of Hatton. I have a ton of Fleetwood, who's currently in 10th or whatever. I have a lot of Adam Scott. Sheets was pretty astute in pointing that one out, and I'm well ahead of the field on Xander. So hopefully those guys can do well. Any chance? Sure, the Suns could take it convincingly. I don't know why they would. Like, they're clearly an inferior team to Denver. With the way that things are currently constructed. I like Denver. I'm taking Denver plus the points anytime in this series that you're going to get plus points on Denver. Probably there will be one game where Phoenix does do that. And by the way, Phoenix can get back in this series. They're talented enough to do so. But if you realize how far the talent level drops off on their team after you get the Durant, and you obviously don't have Chris Paul, after you get the main 4 starters, usually it's really, really bad. And I actually think that trade they made, they probably could have made the same trade with the Nets for Durant if they just keep Cam Johnson. You know what I mean? Keep one of the wings just so they would have been there. I think that's where I'm at anyway. I'm not as high on the Suns right. I haven't seen the Suns play well yet in the playoffs. Russell Westbrook was giving them all they could handle in the first round alone. So I don't know what to tell you. I had Norman Powell, I guess, to give him a little shout out too. Anyway, guys, I'll be in Discord all night. Sorry for the quick show. It just seems like the questions are kind of drying up. The thoughts are drying up. So we're going to get out of here, and I'm going to finish my builds, and I'm going to say good luck to everybody. Let's make it a really fun Friday.